All right, I'm gonna get started here. I guess everybody's out voting today, and that's cool. Hopefully, you guys voted for your choice of candidates in all the elections that are happening today. Go America. That's who I'm voting for. All right. So today I want to talk about something. Last month if you were listening to the podcast series, we talked through fear and all the different fears because we were in the month of October. This month, we're really focusing on thankfulness because we're in the month of gratitude and thankfulness, which I think is really appropriate before we get into December and Christmas and gift giving and all those things. I think it's important for us to be thankful. And as we start that process, I'm going to be talking about a topic that is really important, meaning like as we build this process, it's important that we understand, I guess, some different ways of looking at thankfulness and gratitude and all that. It's easy to go, well, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that, and not really understand why our brains go to what they go to. So I kind of start off with the story of um, two Fridays ago, I guess now, or a Friday ago, whatever it was, a week and a half ago. I was at the World Series for Game One of the World Series, and while I was there, I was there, and I was the only person with me. I didn't have anybody with me, and so I was by myself, and which is fine. I've been to that stadium many times, but I was excited to be there for the World Series, and the World Series was happening and everything was good up until the end because I'm a Yankees fan and the Dodgers hit a walk-off home run, a walk-off grand slam, the first grand slam walk-off in the history of the World Series. So it was a phenomenal game. Yankees were winning, then they lost. But I had to like run out of there. And what I mean by that is like it was craziness, it was pandemonium, all these people dancing drunk, honking horns, smoking weed, everything was just nuts. And I'm trying to get my Uber driver and he's not responding to me. And while I was trying to respond, I'm like trying to call him. I'm just walking down the street and I see all these people flagging me down. They were commercial drivers and they're saying, "Hey, there's no Uber. Uber's not working. If you need a ride, I'm here. I'm here." And I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I've got an Uber driver. We're good. I've already been communicating with him." And so I just keep walking and I just keep going towards, my destination in the lot, in the Uber lot. And I get to the Uber lot and there's hundreds of people, literally hundreds of people sitting in that space. And they're all just like, waiting for their Ubers. And I'm going, oh my gosh, like this is craziness. And I look at my map and the Uber driver's like 2 miles away. And he texts me and says, I can't get in. They won't let me in. Can you walk to me? And I'm like, bro, I'm not going to walk miles to get to you. So I tried calling him, he doesn't respond. And next thing you know, it shows he picked me up. I had started walking towards him and I'm down a block. I'm at the entrance of the gate and he's nowhere to be found. And he basically left me. This was something I already prepaid for, but I'm in a situation where now, he took my $50 and I have no way of getting home or getting back to my hotel. In the middle of downtown LA, don't know where I'm at. I don't know anybody there. And my battery on my phone is down to 3%. So you start to feel that sort of panic set in. You start to feel that like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And my brain starts thinking through all the different ways that I can try to get help. Do I ask an officer for help? Do I, what do I need to do? And as I start walking back, there's a guy and he's wearing a suit and he's like up on a hill and he goes, "Hey, are you looking for a ride?" And I was like, "Oh, possibly." He goes, "Well, I'm a commercial driver." And I said, "How much?" He said, $120. I'm like, $120? That's crazy. I just need to go 4 miles to my hotel. And he's like, well, it's up to you. You can either pay the 120 or you can walk, or you can wait for, an Uber driver to eventually come to you because it's going to take hours for them to unclog this system. And I was like, damn, I was pissed. I was mad because like I didn't feel like I was in control. I didn't feel like I could control the narrative of what was happening. I had no decision to make other than how do I get back to my hotel? And I was kind of an asshole to him. And I was like, well, how about 100? And he just turned around and said, no, thanks. Because he knew he had hundreds of people that he was just going to go find just one person and he was going to get his ride fare that he needed to get out of there and make his money. And I remember just reluctantly saying, fine, okay, yes. And I said, do you have a charger? And he said, yes. I said, okay. So I got in his car. I plugged my phone in the charger, texted my wife, hey, I'm safe. I'm good. I'm on my way. And as we were driving, I felt, like watching all the crowds of people trying to get out, hundreds of people still sitting in that Uber line. I just felt a sense of gratitude. I felt a sense of like, okay, I'm safe. And I looked at him, I said, hey man, I know this is your job, but I just want to say thank you. And he kind of laughed at me a little bit. And he's like, oh, no problem. I was like, no, really, because like I was kind of an asshole to you, and that wasn't fair to you. But and I understand why, you asked for the money you were asking for. I get it. And I said, but thank you. And it really got me thinking about how we approach our situation with our wife, the separation, divorce, how we approach situations in life in general, where in the midst of it, the panic sets in. In the midst of it, we don't know. We don't have clarity on what the next step is. Where do we go? We're running out of battery. We're running out of things that were keeping us alive. We're running out and we don't know where to go, what to do. And because of that, panic sets in. And panic sets in because we're focusing on what we don't have versus what we do have. And this is the idea, the principle of what's called the gap in the gain. So many of us don't focus on the gain, we focus on the gap. We focus on where we want to be. And if you think about why that is because we have these ideals. We have the ideal scenario. So my ideal scenario for that night at the World Series was that I had prepaid for my Uber. So the ideal scenario was as soon as that game was over, he was going to pick me up and I was going to get in my Uber and go back to my hotel and have a safe night. That was my ideal scenario, but it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen that way. In fact, my ideal completely got turned around. Not only did the Uber not pick me up, but they charged me the $50 and I had to pay $120 to some other guy for him to take me back. And by the way, the Yankees lost. So it was like all this frustration, all this gap, because my brain wanted to focus on the gap. But what got me to a place of gratitude, what got me to a place of thankfulness was recognizing that I was no longer on the street, that I was no longer unsafe, that my phone was no longer not being powered and charged. And as I started to recognize that, I could see the gain. I could see the gain. Yeah, I had the money. It didn't break me. It didn't, destitute me. 120 bucks at the end of the day isn't a lot of money for me. But in that moment, I felt victimized. I felt disempowered. But when I started to shift from the gap thinking to the gain thinking, that's when things started to shift for me. I felt better about my situation. Not only did I feel better about my situation, I felt more peace. I felt at rest. I felt at ease. My wife felt at ease because she knew I was safe. And it was like all of that shifted just because my mindset shifted from a gap to gain mentality. And that's what we want to talk about. And that's what we want to really look at in terms of where you are at in your separation divorce. Because it's so easy to just focus on the ideal scenario is what? We're married for life. We have our kids together. We have our grandkids together. We live together forever. That is the ideal that every man sets out to do. In fact, believe it or not, that's the ideal that your wife wanted as well. But here's the thing is at some point in your marriage, she woke up and said, this isn't what I signed up for. At some point in your marriage, she was like, this isn't the ideal marriage. I thought I was marrying the ideal man, and he hasn't been that man. So just as much as you feel the gap around your marriage and where you are, she also has felt the gap of where she is. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. It's the way the world is occurring to her. The way that she is seeing the world is that you have not been the ideal man. So when we look at this big picture, you have two people who basically feel like neither of us are in an ideal scenario, an ideal situation. And as a man, you have control not over the situation, but over yourself. You have control over how you show up and how you respond to what you are experiencing, right? And so if you are experiencing this interrupt in your life, and you're experiencing this place of gap thinking of like, I don't have enough and she's not here and all my ideals have been broken, you will not be happy. And if you saw the email that went out, the key to happiness, kind of a little clickbaity, and I didn't mean for it to come across the way it did when we set it up as a marketing team. But really what this is based on is that there was a study that was done in 2023 about workers, and they talked about the idea of what makes them happy. And the study showed, let me get my notes back up here for it. The study showed that this is that only 39% of Americans believe they were making progress towards their long-term goals. And in a separate study, between 33 and 42% of Americans rated themselves as happy. And so we saw this direct correlation between making progress towards your goals, making progress towards that ideal, making progress towards that, and your happiness. And so If you find that you are not happy, more than likely it's because you're not making progress towards your ideal. You are not making progress towards the man you want to become. And because you're not making progress towards that man you want to become, you find yourself frustrated. You find yourself depressed. You find yourself confused and lacking identity and lacking direction. But when you have clarity and you have focus and you know the direction you're going in, and you don't just focus, you don't focus on the gap of what you don't have. You focus on what is before you, and you focus on what you already have. The happiness comes, the contentment comes, right? All of that is based in the contentment. A pastor of mine used to say that comparison is the death of contentment. Comparison is the death of contentment. It's because when we compare our situation with that guy's situation, or with that guy's situation, or with Mark's situation, you compare, oh, I drive this car and Mark has that car, or Mark makes this money and I make this money. And you can compare and compare and compare. But when you do that, you lose contentment. In 2022, I personally made more than 99% of people in America. My personal income was more than 99% of people in America. And I still wasn't happy. Why wasn't I happy? Because I was looking at the wrong thing. I was looking at the gap of where I wanted to be, that I wanted to be 2 or 3 times where I was. But because I wasn't there, I was so focused on the gap and I didn't look at the gain. Now I look back at it and I go, what an idiot. Do you see how successful you were? Do you see what you had in your bank account? Do you see what the things were? Dude, you can be happy with that. But I wasn't, because I was focused on the gap. I was focused on, well, I'm not hitting my deals. I'm not even close to my deals. And because of that, I can't be happy. And guys, fast forwarding to 2024 and where I'm at currently in my life, I've stripped away a lot of things. I've simplified a lot of things in our business, et cetera, where we've got some great profitability, some good numbers, but things aren't what they were because of some changes I made. And they will be again. I have no doubt about that. But in making those changes, I started to realize what makes me happy is actually the gain is focusing on that gain, is focusing on what I do have and focusing on where I want to be, and really stripping away the things that were toxic, things that weren't healthy for me. And so even in your situation, looking at this, you go, this isn't ideal. I should be married right now, and I should be waking up next to her, and we should have sex, and our kids should be together, all that together. But here's the thing, is life is stripping away that which is not healthy for you. At the end of the day, when these things happen, this is an opportunity for you to see what is possible for your life. I'm not saying that this shouldn't be, or that this should be, that you should be going through divorce or any of those things. But what I am saying is that this is an opportunity for you to find the gain, not to find the positive thinking. I'm not talking about reframing here. I'm talking about literally seeing the proper perspective of what you need to have. And that is that, oh, even though I'm missing out on these things, what I can focus on is what I do have. And the more I focus on what I do have, the happier I can become. When I do my morning prayers and I stand outside and I look at my yard, and I look at the green belt behind me, and I look at our incredible home that we have, and all the things that we have, and the beautiful kids and the healthiness that we have, and I'm thanking my God for that. And I'm just like, wow, I'm so blessed. Even though I may not be where I want to be, it's when I focus on the gap is when I remember that I don't have what I want. But when I focus on the gain, I can be happy and fully aligned and fully anchored into peace, because I don't have to have those things. What I have is this. What I have is that. And as I lean into that, all the other things become distractions. All the other things become little minimal things, because I'm no longer focused on the gap. I'm focused on the gain. So here's my question to you today is, what are those ideals that you've set before you that are really impossible things? There's this idea of moving goalposts, right? You think that the goalpost is going to be right here, and then all of a sudden, you go to kick it, and the goalpost moves back, and every time you go to kick it, it moves back some more, or it moves to the left, it moves to the right, and that's what most men feel their life is a bunch of moving goalposts, that they can never actually hit the goal, that they can never actually attain the thing, and they're always striving, because that's what orphans do. See, orphans are raised in a mentality and a mindset that says that no one is there to take care of them, that no one can be there for them. And we say it all the time. Hey, look, no one's coming to save you in your situation. This is absolutely true. But a lot of our striving comes from a place of doing things from a place of lack and a place of weakness, not from a place of strength, not from a place of wholeness, not from a place of being in conjunction with who you are and what you want out of life. And so what happens is we create these ideals that aren't even our ideals. There's actually a whole science that goes into this idea. It's called, I think it's called mimetic or mimetic something. I'd have to look it back up. But it's this idea, this science behind how people want what other people want, not necessarily what they want. Meaning that we see what other people have and we go, oh, I should have that too. Or, oh, I should have that too. But that's not necessarily the thing you want. It's what it represents to you. Right? Why do people drive Mercedes versus a BMW? Why do people vote left versus right? Why do people have this type of house versus that type of house? Right? Many, many times it has nothing to do with you and what you want. It has everything to do with what other people want and your way of living that way. And now when it comes back to this marriage and relationship thing, you go, well, Mark, I want a healthy relationship. I want my wife back. I want this, I want that. And it's like, true, but you may have contrasting values. You may have this idea of like, I want a healthy marriage, but I want this marriage. And it's like, yeah, but what if this marriage can never be healthy? What if the person you want is not really the person you need, because the person you need would actually treat you better and not cheat on you? What if what you really want is not your wife, but a woman who would love, respect, honor, and cherish you? Because maybe that's really what you want. You've just wrapped a face on her and said, this is the person. And she's been trying to tell you, I'm not that girl. I'm not that person to love you the way that you want to be loved or need to be loved. And instead of letting her go, we hold on, we keep her in, we abuse her emotionally, sometimes physically or even sexually. I've seen it done. And we do this because we can't let go of the fact of living in the gain, but because we live in the gap. And we go, but we don't have this ideal. She's that ideal. She's that 10 I've always wanted. And when I live from that place, I can't let her be free and I can't be free. I remember taking off my ring and thinking, gosh, 6 years ago, whatever it was, will I ever get married again? Will I ever wear a ring again? Will I ever be a husband again? Because she was my everything. She was my number one. She was the one I wanted to be with forever. And I'm here to tell you, I've now been married for 3 years to my current wife. And it looks like I'm frozen here. Oh, there we go. I've been married for 3 years to my current wife, and I can 100% tell you it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I would not have near the life I have. I would not near have the business I have. I would not near have the relationships and the children I have the way I have them had I not gotten divorced and become remarried. I'm not saying this because that's your lot in life and this is what you got to do and this is what you got to accept. But I'm here to tell you is that if you live so far in the gap, you will miss out on what is possibly the gain. For me, if I had stayed focused on the depression and the anxiety and the living in this frustration with my ex-wife and never actually moving forward, never actually filing for divorce, never actually moving on from it, I would have stayed stuck in this decision making and stuck in this pattern of life that wasn't healthy for me. And ultimately, I needed to find what was healthy and what was strong for me. Because as a man, we are no good to the world if we are not strong. You are no good to your children if you are not strong. If you are weak, if you are constantly living in the gap of what you don't have versus what you do have, you are nothing to the world. You offer nothing to the world until you can come from a place of strength. It's just like you go into Disney World and trying to spend thousands of dollars on a credit card when you get home and you're fucking broke and you got no money coming in whatsoever. It's the stupidest thing you can do, but that's what we do. We do that to live an ideal life. We do that to come from this place of what we think is strength, but it's not strength, it's weakness. And we don't want to be called out as frauds. We don't want to be shown as weak, but that is who we are when we operate in that way. When we operate from a place of, of gap thinking instead of gain thinking. So my challenge to you this week is, will you put on gain thinking? Will you start to focus on what you do have, not what you don't have? Will you start focusing on not the ideal scenario, but what is the right scenario for you for now? Maybe the ideal scenario would be you guys staying married, but maybe the right scenario is that the divorce takes its course. Or maybe the right scenario is for her to find her pattern, to find her way, to find whatever the fuck she's missing in her life, while you find yourself and find your identity. Because for some of you, this is the wake-up call you needed to find yourself again. For some of you, this is what you exactly needed to experience to find healing and freedom again. Because why? It brings up old shit. It brings up old memories. It brings up all these things that have leveled your life, that have kept you living this static, barely existing life. And men, I'm here to tell you that life is meant to be lived. A fullness of life is there for you if you choose to have it. It's not something that we just survive by. That's why I call my program Thrive, because I want every man to thrive in every dimension of life. And if you are not thriving, you are barely surviving. And I'd rather see a group of men, build a group of men that want to thrive in every dimension of life. You as a father, you as a leader, you as a lover, you as a producer, and you as a man, your internal world, your external world, how you take care of your body, your emotions, all of those things. Because when we have men that are doing that, our world changes. We don't need one savior as a president. We don't need a politician. We don't need a business leader. We don't need those people to guide us in a sense, but we can be that for each other. We can have communities of strong men once again, where the sin against the children, if you will, is not happening. Where single moms aren't raising boys anymore, right? Where we have healthy homes, where a father is leading, not in a toxic kind of way, but in a way where children are respectful and love their parents, and kids are raised to be good citizens and giving back and plowing back into society. There's a reason why there's such an attack on family in our culture. It's because when a family unit operates in a really strong way, they reproduce other families. And when you have strong families, you have strong undergirdings of a society and a culture. Show me one culture that doesn't have, show me a strong culture, a strong government that doesn't have strong families. You can't find them. You can't find them. It doesn't matter what country you live in. If you want a strong society, a strong culture, meaning one that's not mentally weak, one that is strong, that will fight against tyranny, that will fight against terrorism, that will fight against those things, one that is protective over their children, one that has laws and has governing that makes sure children aren't harmed. When you have those types of things, you have fathers. Fathers can only bring forth what mothers cannot. If you have fathers, you can bring forth something in your children that the mother cannot. They never can bestow masculinity. Only fathers can bestow masculinity. And our world, our culture, our country needs more of that. And that is why empowerment exists. I am so sick of the isolation of men and the men feeling like we have nowhere to go. We have no outlet. And so men commit suicide at a much more rapid rate than women do. Men living these desperate, quiet, isolated lives. It's bullshit. It should not be. We've become this connected, disconnected society. We have social media, we have all these things, TV, whatever, but we feel even more isolated and disconnected than ever before. And that's why I created my Thrive program, so that men would thrive in every dimension of life, so that they would feel connected to each other in deep and intimate, non-sexual ways. Instead of perverting it with all kinds of weirdness, we show love in healthy ways. And we help men connect with themselves again in a deeper, profound way, allowing them to heal. I wish that every man would heal from every fucking childhood wound that he's ever experienced, from everything that has come against him, so that he would have a grid and a way to move forward in his life, so that nothing could stop him. Even when he feels weak, he is strong. Even when he feels like he doesn't have everything, he knows he has what it takes because he has overcome before. He is more than a conqueror. That's what I want to create in men. If you are that type of guy, you listen to this podcast and you know it's time to move forward, I want to challenge you to go to my website, thrivebrotherhood.com. I want you to sign up for a call with me. In there, you can see that's the new document I just created. It shows you all of the things we do in Thrive, shows you the full outlook of it. Guys, don't let money stop you from becoming an empowered man. Yes, we are a business. It is not a nonprofit. It's not a church. It's not whatever. It is a business, but it doesn't mean it's transactional. It is a part of a family. And what I found is that when men invest in themselves, when they decide to invest emotionally, financially, and time into themselves, it changes them radically. We've seen over 800 men go through this. Over 3,000 men have been a part of some coaching with us. And we have seen countless time again, brothers becoming fully healed, becoming fully transformed into the men that they know they can be. And if that's you, I want to challenge you to get on a call with me. You'll talk to me personally. I don't have anybody else for you to talk to. You're going to talk to me personally, and we'll walk through what it is that we do, and we will help you get to where you want to go. If it is a financial thing, we'll talk about it. I'll share with you the details. We've got different payment options, payment plans, whatever it is. We try to do everything we can to ensure that a guy can get help. At the end of the day, though, you've got to be able to put skin in the game. I can't mortgage your future for you. You have to be the one wanting to do it. So if that's you, that's the link there. If not, here's the thing, man. You need to stop living in the gap and start living in the game. You need to stop thinking about what I don't have and start focusing on what I do have. And the sooner you start doing that, you will begin to have the life you always dreamed of. The life you always dreamed of is much bigger than probably what you dreamed of. The things that are for you, the things that can be happening for you, are probably much bigger than what you imagined possible. And that all comes back to us focusing on what we have, not focusing on what we don't have, but focusing on where we are going and the men we are becoming to get there. That's all I got for you guys. I wish you the best. Have a great one. Go vote. See ya.